Hey there, this is Fernando coming to you from beautiful Geelong here in Australia, and I wanted to hop on and talk about something that I think is pretty important if you're trying to build an international business for your network marketing. And so, as you see in the title here, it says that when you get past culture, you start to realize that we are essentially all the same. Now, what does that mean? Well, I certainly discovered that for myself. So, having coached close to 4,000, past 4,000 people from 50 different countries, it gave me the opportunity to learn and discover that we are exactly that. Once you get past accents, cultures, traditions and things like that, we are essentially all the same. I had the privilege of coaching people from Europe, from South America, from Eastern Europe, Russia, China, Switzerland, Austria, Italy, Ecuador, Colombia, Argentina, Spain, you name it, right? South Africa, Nigeria, all these different countries. And it was always the same. People wanted the same. Now, these are people that are in network marketing trying to grow their business. Now, why do I start my message by saying that when you get past culture, we're essentially all the same? Well, we know there's a lot of talk going on right now about cultures and people and races and all that sort of stuff. But if you're trying to build a business, an international business at that, it'll serve you well to understand this. Because the more we understand who we really are as individuals outside of all of that, we can really start to impact in a big way. And so I learned from Bob Proctor, who's obviously my mentor, that we're all spiritual beings. We have an intellect and we live in a physical body. And so we're all spiritual beings. We have an intellect and we live in a physical body. So what I've done, and so I'll just give you a bit of a premise here of what I'm leading to. I've created like not really a masterclass, but a lesson, because I want this video to be the training for you, so you don't have to opt into anything to get it. But I have created like a 10-page activity sheet or workbook that is going to help you start to understand you better so that you can build a global team. Okay, if that's what you want to do, then just drop me yes, Fernando, in the comments, and I'll make sure that I'll give you a copy of that. But I'm going to walk you through it first so you understand what I'm talking about. So for most people, they're walking around, right, all of us, myself included, we're walking around with conversations in our head. I call it inner speech, the inner dialogue that's going on over and over. And you might be wondering, what dialogue? The one that's answering that question for you right now, right? What's he talking about? And it's a habitual way of being where it's there all the time. And you may sometimes catch yourself having these internal conversations, right, with yourself. And you're doing it around different areas of your life. You're doing it around work. You're doing it around your health. You're doing it around relationships. You're doing it around business or your career. You're so many different areas, right? So we're going to talk about the 8 key different areas. But why this is important to realize is because your results are produced through your body action and your inner dialogue, that internal speech, that mechanical speech that's there without you thinking about it, actually acts as a magnet in your subconscious that goes out to attract circumstances, conditions, situations congruent, perfectly fitting that internal dialogue. And so that internal dialogue is actually a creative force. Now, when you realize that that internal dialogue that you're not currently controlling is a creative force that's attracting circumstances, right, that you're going to experience in your life, it becomes all the more important to learn how to shift it, recognize it, shift it. Now, especially if your results are not what you want them to be in each of these 8 areas, which I'm going to cover off in a second. So if you are having negative results around relationships, you might find that you attract the wrong people into your life. If you're attracting the wrong team members, so you might attract people that are not, and I might actually just open up my screen here so I can see and walk you through some of the steps in a minute. Let me just get this organized. I'm just going to have it ready so I can walk you through it in a second. The ready, but just talk about the key messages there as well. So so relationships, right? So I was talking about relationships. You might be attracting the wrong team, right? And I'm going to give you some examples about all that so that you know exactly what to do when you get the workbook or for how to actually go through it. Um, so you might feel that you're attracting the wrong team. Maybe they're not motivated. Maybe you're always having to push them. I call it putting monkeys on your back. And you know the thing when you put a monkey on your back is that soon enough you'll be asked to carry the cow. Hey, Sybil, thanks for joining. So that's one area. What about money? Do you find that you're always complaining about not having enough? I never have enough money. I'm always short. I always have to borrow from Rob Paul to pay Peter. All that sort of stuff, right? It might be about work. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm frustrated with my current job. Why can't I be free from that job so I can focus on my business? And if I didn't have the job, I'll be doing so much better. And there's all this stuff going on that is internal dialogue. Now, again, what I really want to stress is that that dialogue that you're not really consciously aware of is a creative force. Get that? It's a creative force. It's a magnet. It's going out and it's creating your circumstances that you don't want. So now that we understand that, what if we could start to really direct it to create the circumstances, the results, and the conditions that we do want? Now, Neville Goddard, who is someone that I study quite deeply now, wrote a book called Awaken Imagination, which I've been going through, and he talks about it in detail. In fact, that's what inspired me to put this video together for you and the workbook that I'm going to share with you. And it talks about states, and it talks about occupying a state. So the state that you occupy, when I talk about state, I'm talking about a state of consciousness, a place from which you think or where you operate from. The inner speech in that state is what creates the circumstances. Now, a lot of it also comes from your programs, your conditioning. So if you've heard me speak before about this stuff, if you think about the mind, because we need a picture of the mind to work with, you could let your head be your mind and let from the ears up be your conscious and from the ears down be your subconscious, and then the rest will be your body. Now, this is just an illustration. It's not how it is, but just as an example. Your paradigms are in the subconscious part, so that bottom part of your mind, and it's programs that you are not responsible for that were put in there by your parents, teachers, grandparents, people around your environment as you were very young growing up. And it's those conversations, those programs that have dictated and shaped a lot of these conversations that you're carrying around with you, even now as an adult, that may or may not be serving you. So if they're serving you, that's great. But if they're not serving you, that's where we want to do something about it. So how do we do that? Well, we have to, number one, start by looking at what are the results that I'm producing in this part of my life. And when you do that, you want it to be objective. You want to detach the feeling, just observe the result. Once you've recognized the results, you got to ask yourself, is it a positive or a negative outcome? Is it what I want? Now, really, all that you have to figure out here is, what do you want? That's the only question you have to answer. What do I want in that part of my life? What do I want in that part of my life? How do I want to have it be? What do I want to experience? Once you know what you want, then just make a note of that. But then we want to look at, what are the conversations that I'm having with myself around my health, my relationships, my happiness, my wealth, my career, my job, the impact I'm making in the world, personal development, my growth, and my spirituality, my spiritual life. What are those conversations? And then you want to really start to document those. And once you've got them all out, now there's a law of polarity that Wallace D. Wattles talks about in The Science of Getting Rich, which is this other book over here, The Science of Getting Rich. Now, the law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. For every up, there's a down. For every in, there's an out. For every left, there's a right. For every front, there's a back. Well, for every negative conversation that's going on in your brain or in your mind, there's got to be a positive one that you could have. You just have to consciously create it. And we are creative beings, right? Because we have the ability to imagine. That's one of our mental faculties, imagination. So you can use your imagination to create a statement of how do you want it to be. And as you create that statement, then that's going to become an auto-suggestion. That's going to become the place of consciousness, the state from which you're going to start to declare your life in that part of your life, right? So, whether spirituality, relationships, impact, health, money, wealth, all that sort of stuff. So now that we know this polarity, we can create the statement that we want. And once you create that statement, what you want to do is you want to add feeling, but you want to start writing it out every day. And you want to write it out in the morning, and you want to write it out in the evening. And as you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to consciously catch yourself having the old conversations. You're going to start to program the new internal dialogue, the inner speech, that's going to override the old one. And then you're going to come from a new state of consciousness. Now, you don't have to actively seek a method or a way to improve the area of your life. So, for example, if health, right? So, I'll give you an example of health. So, let me just go to my notes here. Well, first of all, let me talk you through the different areas. So, the different areas, and you're going to see this in the workbook. If you ask me for it, I'll make sure that you get a copy of it. Is health, and then happiness, and then wealth, and relationships, and career, impact, personal development, and spirituality. They're the 8 key areas, and I've spoken about them before. And the first thing you want to do when you get through the workbook is you want to gauge yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how you think you are performing in that area. So in your health, you might find that you don't have the energy that you like to have. You might be carrying a bit of extra weight. So you might document yourself as a 3. Now remember, this is objective. Don't add any meaning. Don't add any emotion. We just want to do like a statement of fact where I'm at, right? You can't change unless you know. And you're going to do that for all of them. And once you've gone through and ranked yourself in each one of those, then you want to start writing down what are the results that you're producing. So when it comes to health, it may be that I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight, I'm often short of breath, I'm very tired by the middle of the evening, and I feel like I've got to have a nana nap. Now in Australia, there's a thing called nana naps. I'm not sure if you have them in the other part of the world, where you just got to have a nap in the afternoon, right? Because you're feeling drained. So that's what you want to do. Now, what you don't want to do at this point is you don't want to say, I'm a fat slob and I hate the way that I look in the mirror. That would be adding all the negative emotions to the statement of fact. So you don't want to do that. You want to just capture the result, and you want to do that for each one of the 8 areas. Once you've done that for the 8 areas, what you want to do is now you want to try and capture what is the conversation that you are consistently having with yourself about that. And so what do you find yourself always saying about money? I always find that I'm short of cash. I always find that, let's talk about team. If you're trying to build a network marketing business, I can never attract the right people to my business. I always have people that I have to push. I have to keep motivating them every month. They're not taking action. They don't do what they say they're going to do. It's very frustrating. Why can't I get more people like me who are motivated and just want to make things work? Right? You might catch yourself having that type of conversation. So you want to document that, right? Just really write down what is it that you find yourself saying over and over and over about, and you notice that it's a consistent conversation, right? Don't make one up. Just try and allow yourself to see what's there. How do you feel about that? Write it down. And once you've got them all written down, what we want to do is we want to start to deliberately write a new statement. So we want to define a new speech, a new inner speech. So, for example, when it comes to health, I think I wrote an example there for you. I'm so happy. Let's talk about impact, right? I'm so happy and grateful that I'm living my life's purpose. I'm using all my gifts. I'm using all my talents to help people improve the quality of their lives with what I do, right? That could be the new inner speech that you want to have about the impact you're making in the world. From a spirituality point of view, so I'm just looking at what I wrote in the workbook. I'm so happy that I start and I finish each day with gratitude, knowing that this attitude of gratitude keeps me connected to the source of eternal supply, right? I am the creator of my life and my circumstances, and I take time to wait for guidance. I am intuitively led in everything that I do, right? That could be a statement. And you're going to write this down every day, right? Just write them all on a page, and you're going to meditate on them until they become your new habitual way of speaking internally, right? Now, there is a litmus test. Now, the litmus test to know if you've done this right and if you're doing it is, you're going to see it on the last page of the workbook. As you read each of these statements, do they match what you would say out loud had you achieved your goal? So you got to, number one, know what it is that you really want in each one of these areas of your life. What do you want for your relationships? What do you want for impact? What do you want for health? What do you want for wealth? What do you want for happiness? What do you want for personal development? What do you want for relationships? And what do you want for spirituality? What is your goal for these areas of your life? And the litmus test is is this what you would say out loud if somebody asked you to share that? Had your goal been achieved? So you got to say, had your goal been achieved? Your inner speech and your actions are going to attract the conditions, the circumstances, and the results that you're going to produce. Okay, your inner speech is the speed. Is the speech that would be yours had you realized your ideal. Now, when you hear me talking about, make sure that it's not going off. When you hear me talking about ideal, you know that I'm talking about an idea with a big L at the end that you've fallen in love with. What is the idea that you've fallen in love with? That is what you want for each of these areas of your life. And what you would say out loud is now going to be the conversation that you want to be having with yourself. Even though your lips are not moving, there is actually a very small vibration that's going on that's taking that statement going from your conscious to your subconscious. And that's what's going to attract that, like the big magnet, all the circumstances, all the conditions, all the resources, everything that you need in your life for the manifestation of your goal. So, in summary, when you get past culture, you realize we're all the same. We're all spiritual beings, we have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. What's in the intellect, in the mind, is a program, it's what's attracting your circumstances and conditions that you're experiencing, and your body is moving into action based on those inner dialogues that are going on, the inner speech. Change the speech, change the state of consciousness, change the state of consciousness, change the circumstances, change the results. Whatever it is that you want to achieve in your business, all you have to do is decide what you want, change the speech, and start practicing over and over. The workbook is going to walk you through each one of those steps so that you take some time to really think about what it is that you're saying, what the impact is, and then what it is you want to program. I hope that serves you. Let me know if there's any questions, but I'm happy to send a link with you in a private message. I'm not going to post it publicly because I want to make sure that only the people that are ready, only the people that want this stuff get access to it. And if you want to know how to work more closely with me to really take your business to a new level, you can apply to have a breakthrough clarity session with me at fernandoloaiza.com/apply. You book a time to speak with me for about 45 minutes. We're going to start to look at where you're at, what you want, where you may be stuck, how to turn it all around, and then you'll be taken to an application form because I want to learn a little bit more about you to make sure that there might be a good fit for us to have that conversation. So I hope that makes a difference today.